that fair?
The applicant has to qualify. That's the bottom line.
Just because your brother seek asylum would sometimes that disqualify some people.
We're not by law. If you are seeking asylum, that's something that that person has earned. Sometimes people apply for the wrong kind of visa. So when they're signing up to apply for a visa, they should be careful. If you are going to the United States for study, you can't do that on a tourist visa.
But if you go on a tourist visa and then you decide you want to stay with your husband in the United States, can you change over there or you have to come all the way back?
Technically,
But if you go on a tourist visa and then you decide you want to stay with your husband in the United States, can you change over there or you have to come all the way back? That you refuse a lot of old people? Because you know, that is so complicated, Andy.
it happens.
Okay. But now, is it true that you refuse a lot of old people? Because you know, these are old people. They're just going to see their kids and then come back.
Under credibility of does their trip plan make sense? I wanted to say that I want to say again, we want to give visas. I like saying yes. Obviously, the applicant likes to hear yes. But people who are overstaying, if you are overstaying, you are doing a disservice to your countrymen and women because we have to look that much harder at their applications. And based on what we've seen, particularly recently in the last year and 2 years, we're seeing people who seem very qualified for a visa who are not coming back. And we have to make sure that the law is followed.
Is that why you're very strict now? Like you don't trust nobody?
Well, we have a saying, trust but verify. It's very much...
Is that why you're very strict now? Like you don't trust nobody? Additional, information,
Yes.
like they will come in and...
It's very much a trust but verify business.
Well, sometimes you see some applicants will be asked to bring in additional, information.
Yes.
Like they will come in and you ask them for something, some kind of document, and they would say, okay, let me go back and get it. They go back, and maybe the language is sometimes a problem. They don't get to understand you, and then they will go and get a new one. And, then they will be denied a visa again.
Speak native languages here, and we can interview in the native language. So in general, I see those pending cases, the one where we ask for more documents, it's a tool in order to be able to find more legitimate travelers. We don't want to say no because you forgot a document. We want to give you a chance.
But how friendly are you when people walk up to the window? Because, maybe if you're not very nice, they could get nervous. I can remember sometimes when somebody's going to get a... But how friendly are you when people walk up to the window? Because, maybe if you're not very nice, they could get nervous. I could remember sometimes when somebody's going to get a visa, they don't even sleep the whole night.
Yes.
They're like nervous. Well, how do you approach them? Because that also is important.
Sometimes this is a sign that someone is trying to do something they shouldn't.
No,
but sometimes,
it's not like that all the
sometimes it's a sign
It's
that they
genuine.
want to do right, and they're nervous that they're going to be refused unjustly. So nervousness is not a disqualification. It's just something that happens.
But you know how people are brought up here, because a lot of people will say when you're talking to Americans, you have to look at them in the eye. But in our culture, sometimes that could mean... But you know how people are brought up here, because a lot of people will say when you're talking to Americans, you have to look at them in the eye. But in our culture, sometimes that could mean disrespect, especially when you're talking to somebody in authority. They will say, always put your eye down. So it's not always like somebody is nervous or they're not looking at you, they're not telling you.
Like ambient colleagues, when we talk about these kind of things. Shortly after I arrived, we talked about family structures. And for me now, to me, a cousin and a brother, it's pretty much the same. All right? In the States, it's not the same. But here, that's a pretty close relationship.
Yeah, the cousin is a brother.
Yeah, so we do try to take that into account.
And what do you do besides work as consular officer? Because sometimes people would know you from the window. And do you kind of like go out and meet with some of these people that you denied a visa before? And if yes, how do you feel when you meet them outside work?
I do run into them on the street sometimes. And that's life. Let me put it this way. We're trying to do the right thing. I'm trying to apply the law. It's not fun to say no. But I have the satisfaction of believing that I did the right thing, that I upheld the law of the United States. That's my job.
Yeah, but you see, Andy, you keep saying it's not me, it's the law.
That's my job. If my decisions are reviewed, we study these things. We take statistical studies, we review them. it's not only reviewed here, but it's reviewed back in Washington. It's reviewed regionally in Frankfurt. And if we find a problem, I will be counseled. We do that. And if it was just me saying yes or no on my own whims, I'd lose my job. My job is to follow the law, and I am checked on.
But, I worked at the embassy before, and there were instances when somebody was refused a visa, and some of them would be crying. And there was a day somebody even collapsed. If you have instances like that, how do you cope with that? Do you just look at the person and say, let me just give them, I feel bad? Does that happen to you?
You want to,
but again, it's the law.
You've got to make the right decision.
Yeah.
I mean, we do make mistakes, and it has happened to me in the past that someone has walked away from the window, and I've thought, gee, I don't think I made the right decision. And I have called people back and said, you qualify for a visa. Sometimes it happens.
Wow, that happened before?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. My goal is to get it right. It really is.
Yeah. But if you look at the Gambia here, Gambian people are friendly. And we're not the kind of people that would like to bring problems to other people. For instance, Gambians hardly have issues in America. But don't you think that alone should give us that chance to be able to have visas, freely, like not with all those strings attached?
The law is the law. We're a rule of law society. It is a credit to Gambians, you're right. Gambians are tolerant, they're polite, they're pleasant. It's a pleasure to interact with them. But our law, our visa law, it's based on ties. That's what the law says.
Well, Andy, it's been nice talking to you, but I know everything you're like is the law, it's not me. But sometimes the law is a bit flexible, right?
Well, let me come back and highlight the fact that in 2011, we issued 1,824 visas.
In Gambia?
Yes. That's another almost 2,000. That's another 2,000 Gambians who have the right to travel to the United States. That's what we look forward to, and we're happy that they're qualified.
Okay. Well, is there anything that you would like to add before we close this interview?
Thanks again for having me on the show. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and I look forward to seeing you at the window.
I'm not coming there now. My visa is valid till 2015, and you'll be gone by then, right?
Maybe. I look forward to seeing some of your viewers at the window.
Well, thank you very much, Andy. It's been nice talking to you. And thank you very much for taking your time to grant us this interview. We appreciate it very much.
Welcome to Alan's Yes or No Games. First of its kind in Ghana. We've got 23 seed boxes where you play with up to $50,000. I'll offer you 2,000. Mr. Sonic, the banker just offered you 2,000. Is it a yes or a no?
Definitely a no.
Okay, let's play on.
Yes, you heard it. $50,000 is locked in one of these boxes. You can call it luck or smart. Choose the right box and the content is yours to take home. Or you take a deal from the bank. With Alice Yes or No game show, everybody wins. Alice Yes or No game show. Coming soon on GRTS.
Who is Gambia's funniest comedian? Who can get people laughing and has the humor that cuts across? Damane, kan mo am fit pour tahaw live? Re loma nga re. Ñepp dal di hahatay. All you have to do is to text comedy COMEDY on 2020 200 30 30 300 60 60 600 and 999 0909. Participants are invited in Mandinka, Wolof and English. Gambia's funniest coming soon. Just text and we will call you back.
Gambia,